The expression of skill consistent within the imagination of the people was recognized to be only as folk art, or belonging to groups within groups, or primal, or zoned to specific geographical locations, or restrictive, or not ever standing a chance to be master class or of an outsider class. It's Apollonian ideas of beauty that structured the systems of learning which permitted art to have populist classes and elitist classes. It's this aesthetic of ideas we are disrupting. If ever there were needed reasons as to why women never received any sort of notoriety for their art in Western rising culture, it is due to the idea of the arts we derive from our Apollonian thinking. They weren't part of a, they weren't part of the Apollo way of pondering. Apollo's mythic relational dimension with regard to the female guise was often and typically categorized as disastrous. Apollo took beauty unto himself so that all things are mirrored Apollonian ideas and structures. It wasn't until devotees of other deities came along that Apollo was challenged in his possession of beauty and the way we gratify our sense of soul because of beauty. Where beauty is secluded away and sheltered, along with wherever ideas in regard to art belonging to complex urbanizational structures are found, we can be assured that Apollonian ideas of art influence, no matter the cultural region. Interestingly enough, the legends told of Apollo, well, some of them describe how he chose to debase women to a sole object. Perhaps not women, but certainly beauty. He definitely placed beauty in time and space of a natural kind. This splits off the infrequently found moments from nature, the natural, and leaves genuineness to controlled locations by default, leaving the experience of God-givenness to be felt only in controlled, specified, remote locations. If we subscribe to this idea and this idea alone. Isn't it difficult to say what beauty is? Maybe it's best to avoid making that attempt for now. Why not instead pierce through the life of the issue before we become entangled by the defensive posturings of logic's reasoning toward this topic? Beauty is oppressed. Beauty will continue to go oppressed as long as we fail to give beauty an adequate frame from which to stand. It's useless to talk about beauty if we can't define beauty properly. The usual approaches to defining beauty fall into the categories of subjectivism and or objectivism. Most of us have heard at least once in our life that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The Scottish Enlightenment philosophical thinker Hume is accredited with this expression. How are disputes to be resolved when it comes to differences in opinions as to what beauty is or what beauty entails? Differences in conclusions as to whether or not a painting is beautiful are typically resolved by a superiorly enlightened being who has acquired a finer taste for beauty. Yes, it sounds very snobbish and very elitist. We're mildly aware. It's only a matter of time before this individual of refined taste ends up being the critiquer whose opinions swayed the thoughts of industry. The institution's headmaster ends up becoming the institution's headmaster, ends up becoming the organization's visionary, or ends up becoming the sole proprietor of art itself.